Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcoming you to another edition of Game Time with Kenny. Game time! Game Time with Kenny is back in the house. We are going to rock and roll today. We've got so much to cover in such a short period of time. We were going to try to do an extended version today, but we're going to keep it at about 30 minutes. Um, we don't want to try to go over 30 minutes per day. So if we cannot cover something today, we will try to cover it on another future program. Well, with that being said, let's talk about first, let's go back to the NBA, what happened yesterday. Well, the Warriors. You know, we talked about it. The Warriors, when they find out who they are, the Clippers are going downhill. The Clippers are going to be the Clippers and they're going to go down, and the Warriors are going to rise up and they're going to be the Warriors. Well, that's what Kevin Durant did. And remember, I said that Kevin Durant needs to play his own game. He doesn't need to be intimidated by what Bradley is going to do, because let me tell you something. Durant has the height advantage over Bradley. And when you use that height and when he can knock down the outside shots and everything, he had 38 points in yesterday's game. And Durant bounces back for a big game in the Warriors route as they win into the clip joint in LA and beat the Los Angeles Clippers 132 to 105. Does the Warriors have a chance to win two more and close out the series? I believe they do, because now they've got clearly the momentum on their side, and the LA Clippers have got to come out and they got to have a great fourth quarter comeback as they did in Oakland in game number 2. If they do not have that urgency to come back, they will, and I'm telling you, they will get swept with the 3 more wins by the Golden State Warriors after losing game 2. Now, this should have been a 4-game, but because of that mental collapse and the turnovers that they had in game 2, what a meltdown they had. But they come back in a big way. And as we go through the game highlights and we look at some of the things that did happen in that game, uh, let's go over the box score yesterday. What can you say about Draymond Green? I mean, he didn't have his best game yesterday, but I'll tell you who did. It was Kevin Durant and it was Steph Curry. Steph Curry, he was playing in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in that game, and he still chipped in with 21 points. What was Steph Curry's reaction afterward? He says, yeah. You know, he gives the reaction like, yeah, we're the Warriors. We're going to be the ones that's going to defend our title. And we will win another NBA title in 4 in the last 5 years. Who can dethrone the Warriors? What team out east would be able to dethrone them? Well, the only team I see right now that has played with any consistency in the Eastern Conference has been the Milwaukee Bucks. If the Milwaukee Bucks play the Golden State Warriors, Golden State would not have the home court against them. Milwaukee will have the home court, and they would have a 7th game in Milwaukee if it went to 7 games. That is the only potential challenge that I see that the Warriors will face in this playoffs. Because, when you look at the other teams in the West, I mean, yeah, they can compete for a while, but will they be able to hold in a 7-game grueling series against the Golden State Warriors? Well, I tell you, the 3-point line, it was, Kevin Durant, he only shot 30%. He was 3 for 10. Draymond Green was 0 for 5. And Steph Curry was 4 for 6. And Klay Thompson was 2 for 2. And they, as a team, went 15 for 35 in the 3-point land yesterday. Now, when you look at the LA Clippers, on the other hand, they were 7 for 32 from downtown. That right there was a key stat in how they were able to come back and bounce back with a victory. So it was just tremendous. You know, when you look at the team stats, I mean, 3-point line, that was just a non-brainer there. I mean, they just totally destroyed the LA Clippers. They were shooting at 42.9%, almost 43 compared to the LA Clippers at 21.9%. The rebounds, the Warriors had the edge 58 to 52 over the Clippers. The turnover margin, the Clippers had 13, the Warriors had 12. They were more consistent and not turning the ball over, and it showed. But ultimately, it was the field goal percentage yesterday. Almost 55% for the Warriors in the game. They shot a 54.8%. They held the Clippers to only 37.2% shooting in yesterday's game. That was just remarkable. Now, when you talk about the 76ers and the Nets, I mean, what can you say about Ben Simmons? He had a career high 31 points in yesterday's victory. And going back to the Warriors, you know, before we continue on in the 76ers game in Toronto, the Warriors had 41 points in the first quarter. Now that's Warriors basketball. They came back and from the opening tip of that game, they just wanted it more. They played tenacious defense and they just wanted to get that victory. So now they know that they got only 2 more victories needed in this series. And I'm telling you, the Warriors are not vulnerable. People who are saying that they're vulnerable and they're going to go down, they're going to collapse. Look at what happened. And remember, I said, look at the Houston series last year, Game 6 and Game 7, how they came back and how they won both games. And then they win the NBA title. That's why I say, don't count the Warriors out. They're for real still. Okay, let's go to the Philadelphia game. Ben Simmons, what can you say about him? He was 11 for 13 shooting. The free throws, he was 9 for 11. He had a career high 31 points. He had an assist to Harris, which had a big alley-oop down underneath the paint and underneath the basket. I mean, they were just all over. And Ben Simmons, boy, you could just see when he was scoring inside the paint, he was just on fire. He's saying, yeah, let's go. He just sparked the 76ers team and their defense and their offense. I mean, they're crisp passing from underneath and right near the perimeter, going to the underneath inside the paint. I mean, it was just amazing. They were going after every loose ball, and they took the they took the Brooklyn Nets crowd out of the game, and they were consistent. They didn't even have one quarter where they scored less than 32 points. Look at their line scoring. Each quarter, they had 32 after one, 33 in the second, 32 in the third, and 34 in the fourth quarter. When you have a team that scores consistently over 30 points a quarter, I mean, you're about to lose a game. You're not going to win in the NBA if you, as a home team, give up over 30 points per quarter to the road team. And that is exactly what happened to the Brooklyn Nets. They gave up over 30 points per quarter, and they're going to have to figure out a way in Game 4 to change that and to hold them maybe to about 15 or 20 points per quarter instead of over 30. Now, if you look at the Brooklyn Nets, they only had 35 in the second, 31 in the third, but they scored 24 in the first and 25 in the last. So that was truly a remarkable difference. Well, when you look at the team stats, rebounds, Philadelphia with the edge 61 to 54. 3-point shooting, they had 40.7% to only 20.5% for Brooklyn. Turnovers were 16 apiece, and Philadelphia shot 48.4% field goal percentage to 41.1% for Brooklyn. So that was just a remarkable game they had. What can you say about Derek White for the San Antonio Spurs? I mean, he had also a career high 6 points. They beat the Denver Nuggets 118 to 108. They take a 2-1 lead over the Denver Nuggets, and they have a chance to go up 3-1. Denver having the better record over San Antonio, but yet Denver faces the possibility that they may have to win 2 of the last 3, and 2 of them being in Denver in games 5 and 7, if they cannot pull off game 4. What does Denver have to do in game 4? Well, I'll tell you, the Denver head coach was using the LA Clippers head coach's rally, when the Clippers were down 31 in game 2, and how they bounced back. They're going to have to be tenacious on defense. Jokic, among others, they're just going to have to be able to be their team and hit from downtown, and then just play defense and just play aggressively, but don't foul. So when you look at this game, the field goal percentage was pretty close. Denver actually had the edge over San Antonio. They shot almost 52% for the game. Denver had the edge in the 3-point shot. They scored almost 52% at 51.7 to San Antonio's 38.9. Field goal percentage, San Antonio had 49.4. But where the difference is in the rebounds and in the turnovers. Denver had more turnovers than San Antonio. 13-6 in turnovers. Denver had 13, San Antonio 6 for the entire game. You're going to win a lot of games if you can have less than 10 turnovers per game. That's what San Antonio did yesterday. They only had 6. The rebounding edge, they out-rebounded Denver 56-45, and it was just amazing there. So now let's go to the NHL and see what happened there. Well, how the Hurricanes reinvented hockey in North Carolina and what's next. Well, you just see the enthusiasm. They were down 2-0. They go back to Carolina. They get the home ice back after they win 2 in a row there, and it was just amazing. The other 2 games, St. Louis gets the win on Winnipeg on the road, 3-2, and San Jose gets the 5-2 victory in over Vegas at home. So really not much to go through there, but it's just amazing to just see what hockey is bringing and how hockey is going to be relived. Tonight in the NHL, there will be Toronto and Boston as the Bruins. Yes, they do. Even the series at 2 games apiece, they get the home ice back, knowing that 2 of the last 3 is in Boston. So they are guaranteed, at least if they go to a game 7, they will have it back in Beantown, and where they can beat the Maple Leafs. And Colorado is in Calgary. Colorado with a 3-1 edge, and they have the chance to close out the Calgary Flames in tonight's game. Major League Baseball, you talk about the World Series hangovers are a bunch of nonsense. Red Sox only wish they could cure their horrible start with a couple of aspirin and a long nap. History shows that's not the case. Well, let's go through some of the highlights, some of the games from yesterday. Well, Garcia's tape measure homer ties the game in the 9th inning. And in the Dodgers game, Urias strikes out 9, shuts down the Brewers in the win. And Jimenez for the White Sox drills a 2-run home run for the White Sox. And going through the scores from yesterday in Major League Baseball, we see that Arizona goes into Atlanta, wins 4-1. Washington Nationals beat San Francisco 4-2. The Tigers beat the White Sox 9-7. Blue Jays win in Minnesota 7-4. The Royals beat the Yankees 6-1. The Orioles beat the Rays 6-5 and 11. The Dodgers beat the Brewers 3-1. Also, games out west in Denver, the Rockies beat Philadelphia 6-2. What a slugfest in Anaheim. Yes, 11-10. The Mariners do get the victory, and the Reds beat the Padres 4-1. Well, I'll tell you, the Braves and the Indians, that's going to be a great weekend series when they play in the home of the tribe. Yes, the Cleveland Indians will play a game at home. After a 9-game road trip, they go home and they have the Atlanta Braves in town this weekend. And the Astros and the Rangers, they will be playing this weekend. That will be probably one of the better games this weekend if you're a baseball fan. And taking a look at the standings real quickly in Major League Baseball. Right now, it is the Tampa Bay Rays who has the best record in the American League side. They are 14-5 after 19 games of being played. And, the Tampa Bay Lightning in the NHL, we see what happened to them, the collapse after having the best record in the NHL this year. Tampa Bay Rays baseball team having the best record in the American League at 14-5 right now. In the National League, team with the best record right now is the LA Dodgers. They have a 1.5 lead over San Diego with a record of 13-8. They are 9-4 at home and 4-4 away from Dodger Stadium. So right now, the team with the best record in all of baseball is the Tampa Bay Rays. They are 14-5. Wow, what amazing is it? And in the last 10 games, we see that in the American League, the Houston Astros are on a tear. They've won 9 of their last 10. They've only lost once in their last 10. The second longest streak is the Tampa Bay Rays. They've won 8 of their last 10, only losing 2. And so that covers the Major League Baseball side. Now we want to go to the NFL real quick. The NFL schedule, as you see, was released, and we wanted to try to go to an expanded edition and try to cover the NFL and go week to week. But we decided that we're going to keep it no more than a 30-minute program. So we're going to take our time. We're just going to go through as many weeks as possible per program until we complete the ending of the regular season schedule. Now, before we do that, let's go and go through the preseason. Well, the Hall of Fame game this year is going to be Thursday, August the 1st is when the NFL season in the preseason will kick off first with the Denver Broncos and the Atlanta Falcons. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific, and 2 p.m. in the afternoon for those of you in Hawaii. When you go to the week 1 of the preseason on Thursday's games, Indianapolis will be in Buffalo. The Battle of the Meadowlands, the Jets at the Giants, both games at 7 Eastern, 1 p.m. those of you in Hawaii. Washington Redskins are at Cleveland. The New England Patriots are in Detroit. Atlanta is in Miami. Tennessee is in Philadelphia. Jacksonville is in Baltimore. Those games will be at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, and 1:30 for those of you in Hawaii. Then you got Carolina at Chicago, Houston at Green Bay, and then rounding up the LA Chargers at Arizona, and Denver is in Seattle. Other games in week 1 of the preseason on the Friday slot, only 2 games. The Buccaneers are in Pittsburgh and Minnesota is in New Orleans. And then a Saturday game, Cincinnati will be in Kansas City and Denver will be in San Francisco. So that is the first week. Second week, Thursday, August 15th, ESPN will have their first game. The Oakland Raiders are in Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And other games on Thursday will be Philadelphia, Jacksonville, the New York at Atlanta, Cincinnati, Washington, and Green Bay at Baltimore. On the Friday, August 16th, it'll be Buffalo at Carolina, Chicago Bears at the Giants, and Miami at Tampa Bay. The Saturday games will be the Cleveland Browns at Indianapolis, New England at Tennessee, Kansas City at Pittsburgh, and Detroit at Houston. Sunday games will be New Orleans at the LA Chargers and the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. And the first Monday night game of the preseason will be the San Francisco 49ers at the Denver Broncos on August 19th. And going to week 3, well, you got Thursday night football, Jacksonville at Miami on Fox. Friday, August 23rd, Buffalo at Detroit on CBS. Other games on Thursday, Giants at Cincinnati, Washington, Atlanta, Carolina, New England, Baltimore at Philadelphia. On Friday, there are only 2 games, Cleveland at Tampa Bay, and then Buffalo at Detroit on CBS. Saturday will be Arizona at Minnesota. That will be a 7 o'clock in the morning Hawaiian Standard Time start, which will be 1 o'clock on the East Coast, and 10 a.m. for those of you in the Pacific Standard Time Zone. Houston will be in Dallas, Chicago will be in Indianapolis, New Orleans at the Jets, San Francisco at Kansas City, and Seattle at the LA Chargers. And the Sunday night game will be the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Tennessee Titans. That will be on NBC. And then finally in week 4, everything is all on one night Thursday, August 29th. Minnesota at Buffalo, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Jets, Pittsburgh at Carolina, Atlanta at Jacksonville, Detroit, Cleveland, New York Giants at New England, Baltimore at Washington, Tennessee at Chicago, Tampa Bay at Dallas, Kansas City at Green Bay, Miami at New Orleans, the LA Rams at Houston. Arizona is in Denver, the LA Chargers at San Francisco, and the Oakland Raiders at the Seattle Seahawks. Well, with the upcoming NFL draft, which again is going to be 6 days from today, next Thursday will be round number 1. Who do you think in the NFL has the best chance to get the best draft picks and to make the best impact on their teams? Let us know your comments. Please, by the end of this program today, I'd like you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And I'd like you to go ahead and support us in this effort to try to go ahead and give you guys the best sports programming there is out there, even in a 30-minute program. You know, there is so much information, as I say, that I want to go ahead and cover, but there's not enough in a 30-minute program. And then we will have to delegate some of it in other future programs so that we can cover everything that we wanted originally to cover. Well, one of the things we wanted to do is cover the entire NFL schedule for 2019. We were, like I said earlier, going to try to go to an expanded version today, but we decided now let's just keep it at 30 minutes or less, and then we'll just continue it on future programs. So yesterday, we went through week 1, and I'll tell you, one of the best games that you're going to see in week 1 is the Sunday night game between the Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots. But here's the issue in Pittsburgh. The issue is going to be you don't have killer bees over there. You got Le'Veon Bell, who is probably one of their best running backs ever to play the game in Pittsburgh. And you got Antonio Brown, who was one of their best wide receivers. Ben Roethlisberger always had the option to try to go to Antonio Brown. But now he has gone to be with the Raiders. And you know the defenses on opposition teams. They're going to try to double team him and triple team him on every single every single play that the Oakland Raiders run to try to take Antonio Brown out of that game every single week. Antonio Brown is going to have to figure out a way how to beat the double team and how to beat the triple team and how to get open, how to go downfield so that when Derek Carr sees him, he can hit him stride for stride and maybe getting even a 100-yard touchdown pass from one end zone to the other and electrifying the Oakland Raiders crowd. The Oakland Raiders, with the addition of Antonio Brown, they have the potential to score a lot more points on the offensive side of the ball. They have to, however, they had good defense, but their offense was not as good as their defense was a year ago. And one of the things, the Oakland Raiders remind me of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What they remind me of is the fact that when the games come down late, they make the crucial turnover or get the crucial penalty that cost them the game. And when you go into a Raiders game and when you don't see a fight in a game, when you don't see somebody just pushing each other and whatever, that's not Raider football. But when you see the Raiders play and you see all that and you see them getting penalties after penalties, you're seeing an Oakland Raiders football game, right? Well, the Raiders are going to have to change that a little bit. They're going to have to be more disciplined in 2019 and then going ahead and getting less penalties, but being more aggressive and more tenacious when they play the game. Well, the Cleveland Browns, with the addition of Mayfield as quarterback, now starting in his second year, the Cleveland Browns are actually favored to win their division this year, even beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm telling you, this team, a lot of people say, can win at least 9 games. Some may be even giving them as much as 11 games this year. I think 11 games is stretching it a little too much for them. I think with Mayfield, they do have the potential to be over a 500 team. They do have the potential of being in a 9-17 this year. But I'll tell you, when it comes to them making the playoffs, if they do, I would see them as a wild card team to go in. They are not going to be one of the higher seeds. They may be like either a 5 seed or a 6 seed going in into the playoffs, but they are not going to be a number 1 seed or number 2 seed. All right, so we only have time to go through week 2 of the NFL real quick. The Thursday game, as you see, in week 2 is going to be Tampa Bay at Carolina. In week 2, Sunday, will be San Francisco at Cincinnati on Fox, along with Minnesota, Green Bay. Seattle is in Pittsburgh. Dallas is in Washington. Arizona is in Baltimore. In the late games in the NFL on Fox, we will have the doubleheader. Chicago is in Denver, and the New Orleans Saints are in the LA Coliseum to take on the Rams. The NFL on CBS will have the regional coverage games. The LA Chargers, are in Detroit. Indianapolis is in Tennessee. The New England Patriots in Miami. The Buffalo Bills at Giants Stadium to take on the Giants. Jacksonville is in Houston. And the late game out west is Kansas City at Oakland. Philadelphia will be in Atlanta on Sunday Night Football on NBC. And then the Monday Night Football game is the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets in the Meadowlands. We'll get to see Mayfield on primetime football on Monday night in week 2. Well, I tell you, when I look at week 2, I like to see that Mayfield play the Jets. I think that's going to be a great game. And Dallas, Washington, NFC East rivals. That should be pretty good. But I'm looking forward to the Saints and the Rams and the rematch in the NFL on Fox in week 2. That game is going to be a great game. I cannot wait to see how the Rams will respond in their game against the Saints. And it is just going to be amazing to see how the Rams and the Saints are going to play out. That controversial no call, the Saints are really upset about that call again in the playoff game when they had it in New Orleans against the Rams. So the Saints are going to go into that, and you know that they're going to go ahead and they're going to play with tenacious defense, I believe, in that game, and look for the Saints to possibly go into LA and pull off an upset against the Rams. Will the Rams be as effective as they were a year ago? I think teams will figure out how to defend them, and we're going to see how competitive they can be in the NFC West this year. And lastly, I know it's past 30 minutes today. Um, I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes. What an offensive explosion, touchdowns he had a year ago. Um, will he be able to have that same performance, or will he be more rattled? Will the defenses be able to get him? Will they be able to put pressure on him, to sack him, to get him out of his rhythm? Mahomes is tremendously a great young prospect for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm telling you, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs organization right now, you want to do everything you can to keep that guy there and not put him on the trading rumors or the trading blocks to get rid of him. Because I believe that in time, when you give him the right guys, the right group mix of guys, you know, the offensive line, protecting him, and then you have a good running back, and then you have a good receiver that he can throw to. Watch out, this team in the AFC can make some noise. And I think that this year, watch out for the Kansas City Chiefs. They are going to make a lot of noise in the NFL in 2019. Well, that's the end of the program for today. I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining me in this edition with Game Time with Kenny. Yes, we will resume on Monday to do our next edition. We will not do one this weekend. We will resume on Monday. So you guys have a great weekend. Again, please subscribe to the channel. Share this link with all your Facebook friends, with all your Twitter fans, or whatever account you got, social media. Please spread the word and let others view this program, because I want to tell you, when they view this program, they're going to get the latest in sports. They're going to get even things that they never thought possible in a sports program. So with that being said, have a great weekend and be safe out there, and we'll see you again Monday morning.